Hey everyone, how is it going? I am trying an experiment today, which is why you saw my little OBS UI get dragged off the screen. I'm actually on the road. I am in Poland, as you can tell from my google.com page, which is defaulting to google.pl. I'm doing an experiment to see does streaming from the road work? Is hotel Wi-Fi and the amount of gear that I can drag around in a bag enough to do successful streaming? And I have another handicap today, which is I forgot to bring a computer mouse, so I will be doing all of my cursor movement on the touchpad. In other words, I'll be a little slower than normal. I'm also in a single monitor setup, so I'll be a little slower to respond to chat and stuff. But anyway, let's get going. I'm going to be doing a slightly different project today. I'm going to do a one-off. I'm not going to work on the cloud spin stuff that I've been working on for the last, I guess 5 sessions, something like that. This time I'm going to do one-off. I am going to work on one of those little tiny productivity tools that, saves you a whole bunch of time, a la this XKCD. Yeah, there's a great XKCD on is it worth time? This is one of those ones where it takes a very small amount of time to build, but saves you tons of time and makes a big impact downstream. I'm going to write a script that tells me when is a good time to be streaming. How meta is that? Let me tell you a little bit about how it will work. Let me I will do that while I write the README file. So I'm just going to call it WinStream, yay, or just WinStream. And what this program is going to do is it's going to be a node.js program that you can, when run regularly on a cron tab. Specifically, I'm probably going to stuff it up into a Google Cloud function and then run it from an App Engine cron or something like that. Or maybe just stick it into an App Engine Flex instance. But when I run it on a cron tab, it dumps the number of streamers and the number of viewers for a tag or a category, or maybe just the entire programming. And I'm going to dump it into the easiest way for me to do tiny scale data analysis into a Google spreadsheet. So we have Twitch API to this Node.js thingy. And then that's going to dump that into a Google Sheet, a Google spreadsheet, so that I can take a peek at it. I'll probably run it once every hour or so. Using the Twitch API, and then it'll hopefully give me some guidance on when are some times that there is a overabundance of people watching streams and an undersupply of people streaming, because it's always good to make sure you have the biggest impact with your work you can. In my case, make sure that when I stream, I have an easier time getting audience, less competition from the people who actually know what they're doing. It's always good to try and stack the cards in your favor, right? Okay, so how are we going to do this? So the to-do list, how I start a lot of my projects off, is I'm going to start with, let's just explore the Twitch API a little bit. Let's verify, which probably means getting an API key. Hopefully not leak it out to all of you. Then we want to play on the command line. Play around with curl a little bit and kind of figure out which endpoint we're going to be pulling this data out of. Then we're going to go from the command line and wrap it up in a Node.js program. And then figure out where to deploy it. Probably a cloud function. Although it doesn't have any built-in cron stuff yet. But if I remember right, somebody's written a cron adapter already that uses the tasks feature of App Engine to trigger it, which sounds good to me. So it's going to have like a web hook trigger then, and I just need to post to that on a regular interval, which is pretty easy to set up. And then, oh yeah, place on the command line, wrap in a Node.js program. We also want to explore the Sheets API. Figure out how to add rows. How we insert those individual rows into that sheet. Okay, so we have two different APIs to figure out. We're going to get started with the Twitch API. So let's bring up handy dandy Google Web Search. So I actually bring that to some dimensions that you can see on the screen. And let's go do how we start all these things. Let's search for Twitch API. And although my search result page is in Polish, which I do not understand, I might be able to fix that. I'll have some more Polish beer. Zwitek? I actually don't know how to pronounce it at all, but it is the beer that is ever around here. And because I'm streaming in the evening, it's about 8:45 Central European Standard Time, I'm having beer instead of coffee. Oh yes, and as we get going, please definitely do ping, or if you are curious what I'm up to or just want to chat, definitely chat with me. That's why I stream. It's like coding, but social. It makes it so much more fun. Anyway, here is the Twitch API. Ooh, Developer Day at TwitchCon. Anyway, there is an API. I had already known this. If you notice on that search results page, a couple of those links were purple. I've already poked around a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to log in here. Ooh, cool. I can log in using OAuth, so I don't have to type any passwords. How slick is that? Okay, heading off to Twitch developers. So I'm going to go on, and I want to check an API. So I'm going to go to the Getting Started link, because that's a great place to start everything. Then we want to create an app to use the Twitch API, or request access to the developer portal for drops and selling your game on Twitch. We don't need that second half. We need that top half. And then we're probably going to spend a lot of time on step 3. So I'm going to register a new application. I will call this WinStream. I will give it a redirect URI, which is probably for authentication, for like the OAuth flows, when someone is authenticated on my stream, or rather when someone's authenticated on my app. In my case, I'm probably the only one running this, so this is pretty easy. I'm probably just going to give myself a token. How about localhost? Localhost is a good place to start if you're doing kind of tinkering on development. I don't want more email, and I am doing, let's call it an analytics tool, since that's basically what it is. So hopefully this doesn't immediately show all of you an API key. I'll drag it down just out of frame. I'll drag it up slowly. Ah, there is a token on this next page, which I have dragged just below the part of the screen you can see. So I'm going to copy that off there, and then I am going to, just off screen, put it into an environment variable. That way, now let's get my buffer more full of some stuff. Okay, so now I stashed it into an environment variable, which I hopefully won't leak out in the next few minutes. Oh, there's a secret also. So there's a client ID, and I actually don't know how secret the client ID is. And then there's a client secret. Okay. So the client ID is static. Okay, probably okay for me to show that to all of you. So I'm going to stick both these environment variables anyway. So client ID and flood that screen with some stuff again, because for some reason the clear command doesn't always work the way I would want it to. And then, oh, am I already showing you the client ID? I am. Okay, so hopefully that is not that important. Are you sure you wish to regenerate your secret? Why wouldn't it show me that secret on that screen? Anyway, let's just submit and see if this leaks out all that stuff to all of you. Oh, my client ID is up there in the address bar anyway. So all of you can already see it. So I'm not being that sneaky at all. I'm just going to go into, screw this thing of trying to work in that bottom tray. I'm going to switch over to hiding mode. So I'm going to go into hiding mode so bear with me while I take that secret and put it into an environment variable. Doing my copy paste. So what did I stash that one? I stashed that one into client ID, and this one is secret. So flood my screen out again so that I'm unlikely to accidentally scroll back up and show it to you. Okay. So we've created that new secret, and I knocked my microphone. Sorry about the pop noise. And we have a new app, WinStream. I'm going to switch back into laptop screen mode so you can see all the stuff that's going on. Okay, let's play around with this API. So let's go into the documentation and see if they have some advice for us to getting started. API reference guide, Twitch dev, page not found. I found a 404. That's no fun. So let's poke around in here. Looks like there's a couple of different versions of the API bouncing around. Deep links, embedded Twitch. I just want a REST API, PubSub API. Let's see if this version 5 API is what we want. This is the get data about which streams are live, change information about specific channels, and use your Twitch identity to log into your application. Okay, this sounds like exactly what we want. But where's the list of methods? Nothing useful here. So clips discovery, authentication, using the Twitch API. I just want the reference docs. Oh, cool. This is looking a little better. This looks like a REST API. Getting a client ID. This is an example of a call. For on the users, are these like all the different, if I like compress the screen such that it doesn't show me everything because it's, oh, there it is. Okay. So when the screen is narrow enough, for some reason it cuts off all of the endpoints you could be pulling from. That's kind of awkward. So we probably want to see is communities. I think that's what programming will be under. And there's a bunch of example calls here. Let's just take one of these and drop it into curl and see what happens. So, boop. If we run that. Oh, does that client ID actually work? That's pretty cool if it does. So there's a content type here, which appears to be how you specify the API version you're calling, since it looks like they have two different APIs up there. This one is getting an API by name. I guess Kraken is, usually I see versioning in the URL instead of as like an accept header. Whatever. I guess it's okay. It's a little bit weird for a REST API, but there's just Kraken in there. So let's put my client ID in. Let's see what happens. And I get a 400 back because I'm doing a request for a community by name, but I am not giving it a name. Well, let's give it a community by name. How about programming? Let's see if that works. Question mark name equals programming. And hey, we get back some JSON. What if I capitalize? Is it case sensitive? No, it's not. Okay. And we're going to pass this off to, there's like a Python tool for making JSON pretty print, right? So let me get this web browser fit back on the screen for easier seeing. Whoop. And whoop. Okay, so Python pretty printing. Python pretty print JSON. How to pretty print a JSON file. There is a long way. How do I do it just on command line? It's the same Stack Overflow, isn't it? So, line pretty print JSON Python. Let's change the order of those. Here it is, JSON.tool. There we go. Now it's a little bit easier to read. And hey, it's a bunch of information about the programming community, which is cool. It has an owner ID and rules and some other stuff, but you know what it's missing? It is missing the thing I actually care about, which is the, oh, that's a weird looking web page, which is missing the number of people streaming, which is one of the things I'd love to see. So are there any other requests we can do? Like, can we get a list of communities that might have a different representation? I can search by community ID. I can search for top communities. Let's try that. So instead of communities by name, let's just search for communities by top. And we do get a number of viewers, and we get a number of channels. This is exactly the data I want. It is just unfortunately only for the top communities by viewership, which of course doesn't include any of the creative communities because, oh, positivity, variety streaming, chill streams. Interesting, a whole bunch of different communities. So is programming in there? And the answer is no. Doing a grep filter is not. Can we ask for more? We can ask for more. We can ask for up to 100 streams. So let's see if, and that's just a get parameter. Yeah, this is a get parameter. Let's see if programming is in the top 100 communities. Limit. And I'm fearful that the answer is no. It is not. So now can we go in a page? No, we have a cursor, which means we're going to have to fetch that cursor for each page we look at and put it in. So our parser is going to have to have a little bit of intelligence to it. So let's go back to that terminal. Let's take a look. Let's grep for cursor. There's our cursor, mtr. And now let's add another parameter to the search. And we got mjr. And hey, we got programming. Okay, so the second page of results includes the programming community, which is kind of nice. See grep. How do I get context on grep? I remember there's a way to do that. It would be like a -c if I was doing a diff. But if I want to show several surrounding lines, it's cap C. Okay. So grep cap C 5. Let's do 8. So when we run it, we don't need 8. 5 is enough. It's plus and minus on both sides. Actually, yeah, 5 is plenty, so we can see. So programming is way on down there, which is quite a bummer. Although it's in there as programming for the display name and lowercase programming for the not display name. There are 356 viewers in the programming community right now and 35 active channels. Good to know. Now, wouldn't it be good if we could do that programmatically? So, guess let's do it. So we're going to reveal more of the fact that I actually don't really know JavaScript. I am still learning it, which is the very reason I'm doing lots of streaming on it. But we have an idea of the flow that we want from the command line. So now I can move over to start to make that JavaScript-y. So when stream, let's make our JavaScript file and open it up in the only tool anyone will ever need, Vim. Because why would you need more than Vim? Vim is awesome, isn't it? I think so. Okay. So let's go on in here. We don't need any of this stuff. Let's just do node.js, HTTP. Let's just do HTTP requests. Easy enough. I probably need to stash all of my stuff in a configuration file. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to put a few things in here. I'm going to put my client ID. I'm going to put my client secret. Why is that all red? It's a JSON file. Whatever. I'll see if it parses. I'll deal with it. But I am going to switch over into super duper secret hacker mode to do that. My webcam is not working on it because I don't have my usual webcam with me. But don't worry, it'll be back next time. So I'm going to be I'm just grabbing my client ID and my client secret from my Twitch application on the dashboard. But I can't show any of that to you because that will make my day sad because it'll leak out all my goodies. Okay, going into the WinStream app, grabbing the client ID. Now we're going to get the client secret. And then, so we're sticking that in a secret parameter. Not like the name isn't actually secret, it's literally called secret. So why is this, my syntax highlighter is kind of freaking out. But I'm not sure why. Let's pass it over to a JSON linter to see maybe why. Expecting a name, column 2, line 3. Line 2, column 3. So sure enough, keys in JSON aren't supposed to be quoted. Shocking. I am doing something weird on my syntax on the boring part of the program because I can't show it to you because it has a bunch of secrets in it. Oh, double quotes, not single quotes. That is really the problem? Sure enough. Apparently I was trying to double quote some of the strings I was sticking into that JSON file and it was getting all grumpy. Okay. So now that secret file is taken care of. Flushing out my terminal because I'm too lazy to restart it. And going on back to actual streaming mode where I'm showing you my screen and my face and stuff. Okay. So we want to do an HTTP request from Node. Simple enough. This should be like it's bread and butter. It should be super easy. And it looks like there's a pretty simple way to do it with an on event. With agents, we can keep sockets alive, we can destroy, and I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, sorry about that. I'm glad I didn't just randomly sneeze into, oh here we go, HTTP client request. Does any of this support promises? Okay, let's do a web search. I would love to use promises to do it without having to wrap it myself. Seems like somebody has already written this. It has 2,139 stars. Looks simple enough. And it simplifies HTTP request client with promise support, powered by Bluebird. I don't even know what Bluebird is. What is Bluebird? Bluebird is a full-featured promise library with unmatched performance. Does that mean it predates the core implementation? I don't actually know. Well, let's give it a spin and find out, shall we? Boop. Let's go ahead and install those modules, slurp them down off the internet on my pretty fast hotel Wi-Fi here in Poland. Okay. No package.json. That means I've done something stupid, haven't I? What do I do when it says I don't have a package.json? There's probably some initialization step I did not do at all. And it gave me a GitHub issue, which is probably the thing I least want. Using npm initialization. Is it just npm init? If it is, I'm gonna laugh. Sigh. Yes, I just needed to run init. Sure. I'll leave all these things blank. Do I have a license? ISC. What is the ISC license? Do I have a package.json? Oh, we config.json. So let me do an init again. And I want to make sure I get the license right. This is going to be under the Apache 2.0 license. Sorry, this is not a valid license without a license ref. How about that? Yay! Okay, because it's going to be licensed under Apache 2.0. I do not want to mess that part up. Okay, so let's actually get these things installed again. npm install -save request. And then request promise. Cool. We have package.json with stuff in it. Does it have our dependencies in it? Yes, it does. That's pretty cool. And it even figured out the JavaScript file I'm going to be using. That's pretty cool. I think I just created that by hand each time before, which seems really silly now. But, you know, you do what you know sometimes. Okay, so we want to use these libraries. So let's use this cheat sheet. And then we're going to read a web page. Sure, why not? Google.com. Although I'm going to read a smaller web page, it's a little bit easier to read, which is example.com. Okay. Let's read the example.com, body, result, response. Let's just call it response. Yay! Got something. But if there's a error, something went terribly wrong, something bad happened. Okay, let's give this a spin and see what happens. So make this a little bigger so it's easier for all of you to see. Hey, it ran. There's the body. Yay, got something. Isn't that cool? We read a web page off the internet. It's like magic. Let's try reading that JSON payload from Twitch developers. Here's my API key, but we want the docs. we were looking at communities, which was our first guess and turned out to be the right guess. And we want to get the top communities. And we want to go a couple pages down, or we want to keep going down pages until we find the programming community. Okay, so let's give this a run again, see if it works. Should be a whole bunch of JSON, and it exploded in a fireball. Oh, because I didn't set any of those other headers, because I am a bonehead. So we want to set a bunch of other headers. I bet this just goes into a dictionary right here, but what does that look like? Crawl web page better. Why would I want to do that? Get something from a REST API. Here we go. Headers. Access tokens. This gets included as an access token on the URI. Interesting. Oh, query string. It's got a whole bunch of nice, short, different things. Oh, automatically parse the JSON in the response body. This is pretty slick. I like this. Has everything a good client library needs. And what do these go into? Is this, oh, the URL is its own separate thing. Okay, so I'm just passing in the options. One big old dictionary of options goes on in. So is that just the same RP options? Cool, okay. So that's kind of like right looking. Oh, there's actually, that's, oh my gosh. This is a tab, it's not spaces. I don't know how everyone feels about that. It makes me feel kind of yucky inside. Anyway, getting over the whole tabs and spaces thing, because I don't want to start that religious war, at least not while I am so far from home. Do I need anything else in the query string? I actually do. Obviously a hard-coded limit of 100. And then I'm going to be doing a bunch of repeated queries to this API. So I'll have to figure out how to kind of keep drilling in like that, which will probably be creating a new promise. See, these are the things like in this kind of promise mindset I've not really established yet. It's like, how do you do something simple? Like, keep doing things over and over again. Okay, so there's a limit of 100, and I'm actually going to be passing the cursor in. But for now, let's just do something stupid. We're just going to do a request, and then we're just going to go and do another request, and just hope that it's on the second page. And then after that, we'll go back and figure out how to do it over and over again until, you know, like recursively recurse down it. Which seems reasonable enough. So user agent is not something I need, but I do need to give it an accept header. I have like my formatting is all messed up. Smart indent. There, that should fix it. Okay, so we have the one header we need, which is an accept header, oddly enough. We parse it as JSON. This should dump out a whole bunch of stuff. Is this everything I need? Oh, I need a client ID. The client ID goes in as another header, because why not? Oh, it says VI. VI has decided that JavaScript should be spaced twice. Oh, these should be const, shouldn't they? This is config equals require dot slash. Does that actually work? I don't actually know if that works, but one way to find out. Let's try doing it. So this would be conf dot think it's something like that. Let's just try doing that on a REPL. Okay. REPLs are a great way to kind of explore how something might work. Config equals require Why didn't you like that? Unexpected identifier. Oh, because I type it on const. There we go. Hey, that does work. There's my client ID. That's pretty neat. Okay. Config. Isn't it great when things work like the way you expect them to without ever having actually tried? Okay, so let's see if this program actually works. And I close my terminal, so I have to open a new one, and it has tiny font on there. Make that much bigger so we can see it on the screen super easily. And then, what was our node? It was called WinStream. And hey, it worked. We got all that out there. Now let's go through, and what we probably want to do is take this entire set and we want to map it to the name. There was like a lodash name function for that. It's like object to zip or something like that. Let's try that. Okay, so let's install lodash. If I only remembered some of this stuff, like after a few times installing it, some of this is actually going to work. So lodash, which I discovered like a week ago, you know, of course, ages after everyone else, since I'm finally getting on this whole JavaScript bandwagon. Okay, so there we are. We have lodash, mp, okay. And let's play around with our favorite thing, REPL again. I open a different REPL in a second tab. We'll give it a spin there. So if I take this whole thing and dump it in here, does that work? Unexpected identifier. Because I type it on const again. There we go. Zip object. Oh, cool. We have all sorts of cool stuff. Okay. So the lodash methods are on my REPL now, which is a good step of the way towards something. Now what we want to do is we want to do basically this big old request. Yes, paste it with the tabs. So we're going to do then, and we're going to give that a function. I can probably use an arrow function here. But I won't for now, because I don't want to break that yet. Okay, so from within here, what do I want to do? I want to, okay, so from within here, I want to call, actually, I'm going to do a var foo. And then I'm going to paste in that big old monstrosity again. I'm going to take the response. Foo equals, I'm going to take that so I can play with it. Is that all of those? Close paren and semicolon. That didn't work. Well, I guess I can just modify this file a little bit. Whoop. And let's make a variable where I stick it into. Foo. Let foo. Let foo equals empty string, because habits. Oh, is that not going to be available to these because of the way the hoisting is changed? I don't actually know. Let's find out. Let's stash it in there. Okay, so let's just go back to our REPL. Alright, let's just pull in this file. This is win-stream.js. Hey, stop. Do we have foo? No, foo didn't get assigned. Why is that? Is that because foo isn't a var? Or is it because foo is in this program? That would make sense that they wouldn't just let it leak out of that scope. Let's try requiring it again. Nope, foo still doesn't have anything in it. Let's just copy and paste the whole program. Ooh, it exploded. There's a stack trace up there somewhere. Above all of these response entities. All like 500 lines of it. This is snowflake. Oh, there's so many. Oh, here we go. Error is not defined. Hey, it did get stashed in foo. Okay. So let's play around with object up a little bit here. So that means if I do bar let bar equal lodash zip object. Now how does zip object work? I forgot. Is there ever, can I go over to the reference? Where's the main documentation page? Lodash.com. Shocking. Seems appropriate. Are they all in here? Nope. This does not go to the doc. Oh, there we go. Documentation, the big blue button. And I know there's a, there it is, zip object. How does this guy work? So we do is we give it a list of keys and then a list of things. That's not really what I want. What I want is I want to pull those entities out and then assign them. Is it just zip? I guess it's not that. It is like a map, because what I want to do is I want to pull one of those keys out rather than iterating through them. Or maybe I should just iterate through it. Seems silly. Filter? Maybe I just need to filter. That might even be a simpler way. Filter just runs a, iterates over elements in a collection, returns with all elements. Predicate returns truthy for. Truthy, because JavaScript. The predicate is invoked with 3 arguments. So we get a predicate function and then we return a value. Simple enough. That actually sounds about right. Find. Is find more specific? The first element, the predicate returns true for. That's even better. So let's do find. And find takes a collection and a predicate function. And what are some examples here? Function O. Will this work with arrow functions? I still don't really understand when arrow functions are the thing I want. Okay, so return name. I should probably just sit down and like read documentation to figure stuff out. But why do that when I can tinker around for a while and then later have the big, oh my gosh, that explains everything a moment when I read the documentation with some context in my past. Oh hey, that does kind of work. Let's go grab a different one. How about Taiwan or casino community or RHC, whatever RHC is. That should probably be single quote, shouldn't it? Hey, stuff. Identifier bar has already been declared. So we'll just stash that in bar. Okay, so it looks like find is the thing I want. Nope, there's nothing in there. Why don't you work? Oh god. That's a disaster of a typo. Oh, that's interesting. It just looks for a property. So you don't even have to give it a full function. Body iterate project Barney matches. Interesting. So we might just be able to do something like this. So matches iterate that one. So I don't even need the full function. I can just pass in a dictionary, which is actually kind of cool. That's why these lodash things are so nice. They have so much convenience and concise expression of what you want. So it might be the fact that I was trying to force an arrow function into a place where I didn't even, I keep doing that, where it doesn't work for some reason. But that's okay. So what did they get? They passed in a dictionary with a single quoted key. And then, all right, C is the one we're looking for in our case. Nothing came out yet. So why doesn't that work? Oh, that's because foo has a bunch of stuff in it, doesn't it? It's not just, because these are not, what I'm doing is I'm telling it to filter assuming that these are at the root of that big old tree, but they are not. What does the top of foo look like? The top of foo, well, duh, communities. So I want to grab that cursor out, stash it somewhere, and then it's when they, what I want to filter is I want to filter foo.communities. Hey, there it is. Okay, well that worked. And this should return nothing. Because it's good to test those negative cases also. Okay, that's pretty cool. That find method works pretty well. Oh, hey. Hey, somebody's chatting. Hey, it's Slayer Darth. You have drapes. Slayer Darth in the chat actually said something. I'm not alone right now. Hi, Slayer Darth. How's it going? And Slayer Darth mentions that I have drapes and that I use Vim on my Mac. Yes, I do use Vim. I use Vim almost everywhere. I used to use, when I use IntelliJ, I would use the Vim bindings a lot. But about the drapes, I do not actually have drapes. I am not at home. I am in a hotel trying to stream with just my laptop and headset in another part of the world. I'm actually in Poland right now. I'm actually in Krakow, streaming from another world. And another question is, do you feel like testing my Vim plugin? You've written a Vim plugin for the JetBrains IDEs? Because if so, I would definitely give it a spin. Okay, so we have a find function that looks like it works. So what we want to do in our little program now is we want to grab that. No, the plugin is an HTML and CSS validator. It hooks into the validator API. So is that what is that plugin for, Slayer Darth? Is that for Vim? For JetBrains stuff? Okay. So here we are on our thingamajig. Let's go on in here and okay, so we have a response. We stashed it in foo, which we needed for our tinkering around. Yes, so Slayer Darth clarifies that yes, it's for checking invalid HTML and CSS. Sure, I'd love to give it a spin. Send it over to me on like Twitter, chat, or just link it here, I guess. I guess we're communicating right now, so you can continue to communicate in the way we're communicating already, which is you typing and me talking. And Slayer Darth reports that he's thinking of writing another Vim plugin soon. for mirroring one of PyCharm's features. Which PyCharm feature is that? It's always good to have a broader tool set. Okay, so what I want to do is, so I'm going to run this find command. So what was that find command we had? Basically this off of our repl. Let's grab that and go on back in here. So if this is empty, what happens if I do a check on this? This shows how much JavaScript I know. I don't even know what happens if I like, oh, so if this is, I don't even know what happens if I do this. And hey, it says yay. Okay, so you can check to see if that is defined. What if I just check for it? I assume that's going to get coerced into false. No, it doesn't. That does not. Okay, well that passes as not true. Okay, that makes sense. So that means that if this statement evaluates and if find finds nothing, then it's going to return undefined, which left naked into one of these equalities is going to send me off into the not direction. Fair enough, that makes sense. More chats. Sardarth says, checking for invalid or unused Python import statements. So the other plugin you're writing is for doing import cleanup. That's a good idea. There's already a Python linter and syntax checker. Yeah, there's actually one thing that's interesting about kind of the Vim plugin ecosystem. I know it's pretty broad. For some reason, I haven't really gotten that much in plugin habit. So I've used one or two at a time sometimes, but generally at that point, I'm going to whip out the real big giant IDE, just because it's I can move my configuration around pretty easily. Whereas when I use Vim, either it's for quick projects like this, where I'm just whipping up a few lines of code. Or it's like I've logged into some random shell on some random Solaris machine somewhere, and I can't make any assumptions about what's going on. So for some reason, I just have not customized my Vim usage very much. Actually, I want to keep that. Something bad happened. Okay. So if this evaluates to true, we want to get our thing, else. What do we want to do next? So this is probably where we're going to be doing our recursion. So if we don't have it, I want to make a new promise. Okay. So if I do find something, then what I want to do is I want to return it. Got programming. Programming maybe? We'll call programming maybe. And we're going to run our find operation on that. And then, whoop, more chat discussion. Oh, and Sayardarth linked a YouTube video about Vim plugins. Awesome, and I will give it a spin. And mentioned Solaris. You said Solaris machine. I initially misheard you, having logged into Solaris machine. No, I wouldn't log into your machine without asking you. That would be so mean. Penetration tests between friends are mischievous and dangerous. More mischievous than anything, but I wouldn't do that. But yeah, Solaris. And I actually used Solaris a lot at one of the startups I did a long time ago. It's kind of sad that it's basically dead now. It's what the rumor mill yielded last week. Is that some of the last of these the last of the Solaris engineers are now looking for new work. Okay. So you have programming. So if programming maybe is undefined, then we want to get our token out of it. Foo._cursor. Okay, so we want to do is we want to run another request with the cursor. So we're going to grab that cursor. Otherwise, we have programming. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to return another promise. Another request. Oh, this is going to be ugly. Yeah, I'm doing this. Oh, I've nested it. What a little disaster right there. Yeah, I did that. Okay. Oh, I wish there's a way for me to auto-format this file. I'm probably going to end up back in my IDE soon. This has already expanded far beyond what I thought this little... I thought this would be one of those one-liners. I spent too much time in the world of Perl. And the question is AIX still going strong? I have no idea. AIX is actually the one of the Unixes I never used. I spent a lot of time with HPUX. I spent some time with VAX. I spent a ton of time with Solaris, but not as much time with AIX. And Slayer mentioned an uncle that worked in Saab as an IT manager from 1986 to 2001 with lots of AIX. Yeah, I mean, those old Unixes, like a lot of them are definitely still around. I think I actually have encountered some DB2 machines which were AS400s. I don't even remember who made them, but I think if I remember right, they were running AIX in the long ago. Yeah, those are the machines where someone's like, yeah, it's been running for 12 years without shutting down, so they don't want to replace it with anything because it'll surely be less reliable. Okay, so in this case, it's going to return... Oh gosh, I've just created a little disaster here, haven't I? Yes, I have. This isn't actually going to do at all what I want. So... how do I actually... Oh, wow, that's kind of neat. I didn't know my font did that with those ligatures. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so how do I get to do this? In regular flow control, this would be so nice if I was just doing this all synchronous-like. But no, trying to take my old synchronous brain and force it into this new programming model. Okay. So all I really want to do is, if programming is undefined, I want to do another request. Keep doing more requests. Which probably means I want to take this entire thing and ball it up and stick it into a function that returns a promise or something like that. And then I call that function, and then it just recurses on itself. Otherwise, I want to return programming maybe. So what this one does, it does the filtering, and then it might call itself. Okay, so let's make a function. Let's call this do a fetch. Fetch and parse. And check. Fetch and check, which takes a cursor. It's an old school function. Okay, so what this thing does is it does basically this whole thing. So if there's no cursor, I won't add it to this. So this I need to pull out into a config variable. Equals this monstrosity, and then if I only want to assign if there's a cursor value. What I want to do is take request config and dot, I want to assign to it. It'll be request config dot query string. Yeah, it's in the query string. dot, can I actually do that? So if I have this, back to the REPL. Get a clean one. I'm going to paste in this thing here. Config is not defined. Oh, it's because I have all those secrets up here. Oh, which I don't want to do anyway. So I will change this for the sake of pasting it in. Request config has already been declared. Let's paste it in again. So we have our request config. Let's return this to what it was before I forget. And now can I just like jam this in 2 layers deep? What was that called? It was called request config. Dot hello dot world equals hi. Does that work? Cannot do property world of undefined. So how about hello dot query string? Hey, that part works. Okay, so apparently I can't do that. So request that query string, assuming that query string is already defined, I can jam something in further down. Okay. I think that'll work. Okay. So if there's a cursor, so only add a cursor if it's been passed in. So if I pass in an empty set, because if these are all the things I don't really know. So if I don't know what I did before REPLs existed for all languages. Okay, so if an empty string does indeed not evaluate to true when you do a conditional on an empty string, is there an even briefer way for me to do that? So I don't know how to coerce this in JavaScript. If I just stick it in parentheses, will it coerce it into a Boolean? No. If I just compare it to false, apparently empty string equals false, but triple equal is, yeah, oh, JavaScript. There's that fun, those fun little spots I love. Anyway, so we have a cursor. We're going to add it to our request. If we get the programming maybe, otherwise we will return an execution of this function with the cursor passed in, which would be foo dot. So in terms of the flow, okay, and then we just need to, so this will run forever until the stack gets too deep, I guess, if it just keeps going. I'm going to add a console. Because doing a request with cursor. Okay, this will just let me know if I've created an infinite loop. Put it below, starting it with nothing. And let's try running that, see what happens. Hey, it exploded right away. It's index error, unexpected token. It's because I didn't tell it as a function. There we go. And let's try running that again. Undefined is not a valid URI for options object. So that ran on request line 45, winstream 39, winstream 25. So going to line 25, and what have I done here? Something terrible, apparently. Oh, I didn't actually pass any configuration in. What was I call this? I call this request config? Yeah, I called it request config. So that error message makes complete sense, and it exploded with a bigger stack trace. Hey, that's progress. Foo is not defined. Some of my tinkering around, like kludging code, has been sitting in there. So something bad happened. Foo is not defined. What am I doing with foo? Foo is what I called that when I was tinkering on my console. That would be a terrible name for a variable. See, this is like using an IDE, I would have had a squiggly line there. Oh my gosh. It actually worked. Did I actually write a program that has some kind of reasonable flow using promises? I am like starting to understand it, it seems, which blows my own mind. Okay. So that means we should log it out. And we should see the wonderful results of our labors. Nothing. That's because this is skipping on right ahead because I'm an idiot. Okay. Because that's, of course, not going to run because I'm getting back a promise and that hasn't been defined yet. Then I'm going to get my result. Programming JSON. Because of course that wouldn't work. It wouldn't block on that execution. Cannot read property then of undefined. Oh no. So why is it undefined? Because it should return a promise, right? This one returns, and this one returns. Is that because my entire chain is not? I think that might fix it. Hey, that fixed it. Okay. It's one of those things, like it took me a while. At a certain point, like I clicked that depending on the data type of the object return, or rather the data type of the object you return from within a promise changes the downstream concurrent execution behavior. That was the key fact that none of those blog posts, like how to get started with promises and all that, none of them really made that click. That's a realization I came to on my own, which makes me a little sad because that was a hard. I spent a lot of time banging around, being like, "What is going on here?" before that finally made sense. Anyway, I got my programming object and told me there are 372 viewers and 31 streams right now. That's basically what I want. So what I want to do here is stash this into a spreadsheet or something. Oh my gosh. So 40-ish lines of code. Like honestly, this is the kind of thing that like I'm loving JavaScript in some ways, but this would have been one line in Perl. But that's okay. Okay, like 4 lines in Perl. But JavaScript has its benefits. I guess as it gets bigger, I'm not going to end up in thread disasters like I would often. But the real thing I'm getting from this is that I can stash this into like a Lambda or a Cloud Function later, which is always awesome. Okay, so we have the result, and what we want to stash into a spreadsheet is basically the number of streams and the number of viewers and the number of channels. Channels and viewers. That's all we really want. Actually, I can even just dump this chunk out. I'll get rid of these console.logs, which do console.logs go to standard error or standard output? Well, one way to find out. Goes as standard output. So what I can do for now, because I can actually start using this today, I just get rid of these console.logs. And And I can actually start using this today. And I should probably be winding down because I have a flight in like 6 or 7 hours back to the United States. So I should probably get some sleep. So I'm going to be signing off in a moment. But I can already use this right now. What I can do is I can just set up a cron tab on my laptop or stash it on a compute node somewhere. And I'll just have this thing run on every once in a while. I'll run the winstream command and pipe it off into a well, probably time, nope, date to, oh my gosh, is this crude or what? Because that does not have a timestamp in it. So I need my own timestamp. Node winstream to the same file. Yep, there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this on a cron up on a compute node. And maybe I'll do that right now, as ridiculous as that sounds. Do I have time? I can spend another 10 minutes here tinkering around. I'm going to go do that. So console.cloud.google.com. I'm going to spin up a compute instance. I'm going to SCP up my project, or I'll stash it into a Git server up there. But anyway, we're going to create a new VM instance, which I've never done with this project before. Oh, it's the Giphiator project. I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to call it Tinker. Is it global unit? Yeah, good enough. I'm going to create a VM instance on there. And this takes a moment because I've never done it before. I'm just going to grab an Ubuntu long-term support or something machine. I'll probably SCP this project up. Or I can use cloud source repos. I think I'll do that. While that's getting started, I'm going to go to find a cloud source repository. Oh, I just saw it. Source repositories. And this is just a Git thing. It makes it a little bit easier to integrate. Like the access control works the same. Like the benefit of using GitHub, this over GitHub, is that like the access control is the same as the access control for the rest of my compute resources. So although it doesn't have anywhere near the features for like code reviews and that kind of stuff, it just doesn't have any of that. It has a very simple viewer, but it's really not intended to be a replacement for something like GitHub or GitLab. But it does integrate with the rest of my security stuff. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a source repository. Get started. Repository name. Winstream. Which only has to be unique to my project. And this is how I'm going to, essentially this is how I'm going to get my code up there. Push your code from a local Git repo. I use the gcloud command. So this looks like it should work fine. Sure, I think this will work. Hey, okay. Then I could ignore. Apparently the command line GIF, or command line Vim does not like my oh, I also want to remove node modules. The command line Vim gets a little angry that I put a fancy font on my gvim and I use the same configuration file for both. Okay. Why are my swap files not getting ignored? Oh, that's why. I probably want a double star. So I can get all the swap files on all the paths. This looks like everything I want, except that stuff file. Git add that. I'll just check stuff in. Git, I'm even going to commit those secrets. Commit, initial commit. Commit kind of works. which is I think the thing I use all the time. Push origin Google. Git push Google. Git set upstream master Google. Okay. Username. Okay, so I need to do some authentication. This should set up all the authentication stuff I need. It'll do its dance. And so I want to do it from a different configuration. Configuration name. Let's call this Tinker. And I'm going to go into super secret mode to finish setting this up. I'm going to hide for just a moment. And because it does not have my account on there. And we need to do some credential balancing, which means some magic secret URLs are flying around. And I wouldn't want to leak those out because that would be awkward. And set it up with that project. Would you like to enable retry? Sure, why not? Cool. So let's see if that worked. Hey, it does seem to be working. Okay, so I'm switching back to my laptop screen viewer with my little head floating in the corner. So we're able to push up. What I did is I ran this command, except not on that project, on this project. Oh, where are my source repositories? I actually have no idea where I stuck it. I probably stashed them into the wrong project, didn't I? Oh, I did, because I'm a bonehead. Oh, it's because I have not set up, on this project, I have not set up the billing stuff properly. It's funny how that always kind of cycles. Well, let's see if that machine is set up yet. Okay. I'm just going to, rather than get all my source stuff worked out, this is one of the downsides of having like 1,000 projects like I do, or 2 on this particular client, but on all my other clients I have tons of projects because I do so many different things here. Well, let's see if Compute Engine is running, which is what I wanted in the end anyway. I can use a different technique to get it up there. Again, this one does not have all the things I need set up. Okay, so we're going to create an instance on the Giphiator project because that one already has all the billing configuration set up. I don't really want to spend the time doing that. Okay, so now we need to pick a place to run it. I'm usually in the United States, so I'll run it on that. I can use a micro instance. This is not going to be doing much. Super tiny. Other than that, standard setup is fine. I'm going to create it. And one of the cool things about Google's cloud platform is these VMs come up pretty fast. What's going on up here? So waiting for the machine to come on up. Whoop. It's designed for a slightly larger screen. And now, let's SSH up into it. What's its external IP? Can I SSH into that? Hey, I can't actually get to it. Okay. So what I want to do is put a key up here. Oh my gosh, that's so tiny. And I'm going to go into super secret mode again so I can set up a key. So I can SSH in Vim. I'm going to use Vim again. This is one of those situations I talk about where I just logged into a random VM. And I want Vim to be something familiar to me here. Okay, so I'm going to take a key. We're going to grab a public key from my local machine. I'm going to put it up in this machine. And then I should just be able to SSH right in. Permission denied public key. That didn't work. I wonder why not. Authorized key is there. Permissions on it are okay. See, normally I push code up by, okay, let's clear this out. I'm going to do something terrible. Not the pre-roll. I want the laptop screen up. I'm going to do the terrible thing now, which would be, So normally I just pass this all through GitHub, which is usually how I do these deployments, and I have Travis push it or something. You know, like a real system. I rarely kind of tinker around in one of these machines. I might actually just take a step back and have it spend more time doing that. The other option is, do I have Node? Do I have NPM? No, I'm going to have to install a ton of packages on this machine anyway. Yeah, I'm just going to shut down this machine, and I'm going to come up with a better solution in the future. Rather than just dumping it on a machine and doing all the system administration-y stuff and making sure this machine stays patched. I am going to wait and do this once in a serverless way. That, and like I'm running a little later than I wanted to tonight. So, I guess it is time to wrap up. So, let's take a look at... Oh, I see. First, I probably want to write my changes. Not my 40 before 40 list. Yeah, I'm that old. 30-something, yo. So I'm going to go to code, when stream, and we have a README. Oh, it's still a swap file, which means it's still in an editor buffer somewhere. Here we are. So what do? We got an API key. This is what we accomplished today. We explored the Twitch API. We got an API key. We played with the API and curl. That went pretty well. We learned a lot. We did not spend any time exploring the Sheets API, but we did wrap up what we had in a Node.js program, and I had an accomplishment is that I managed to write something with promises that wasn't a complete disaster. Like, I think I actually used them almost right. We did not deploy them anywhere yet. So we're at this point now. We got a few of these things checked off, and this thing, which I hoped would be a one-shot, is actually going to become a two-shot probably. So next time I will be back. I'll probably finish this up before I get back to CloudSpin stuff. As fun as CloudSpin is, being a real big project that does pretty things with pictures and stuff, it would be nice to get this done. So I guess with that, I'm going to be signing off for the night. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night or day or whatever it may be where you are. And thanks a lot for tuning in and watching. Bye, everybody.